Hi, I'm Rick.
Hi, I'm Oscar. Rick, you wanted to show me your biceps today, or was it?
Yeah, something like that. No, I would like to dive into Bicep, which is now GA. It's generally available. The release is out there. We can start using it in production or for production environments. And I just wanted to have a look at, see how it works and what it actually does. So one of the things I think is very interesting nowadays is looking at infrastructure as code, right? And
Yeah, because like Bicep is helping us with infrastructure as code.
yeah, well, actually, the reason it's called Bicep is it makes your arm strong, and then we have ARM templates or ARM templates. And Bicep is the muscle for your arm, so Bicep is a DSL that enables you to build simpler infrastructure as code using this as a language to get ARM templates out there.
Because ARM templates are, well, strong by itself, but
also kind of complex, maybe?
yeah, I cannot type them from the top of my head.
No.
Like I export them and tweak them a bit, and it's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, and I think that Bicep makes that easier. However, of course, there's a lot of services for infrastructure as code.
Yeah.
Because from the top of my head, I can think of using the management SDK or the Azure CLI or the PowerShell commandlets or Pulumi or Terraform or Farmer. So there's a lot of options out there. And it might be interesting to have a look at those,
All of them, yeah.
those different types of infrastructure as code solutions. However, for today, I would like to focus on Bicep and see how this works and what you can actually do with it.
Yeah, because Bicep is, as I know it, and I'm using it in some projects, not myself directly, but the team.
Yeah.
So I've seen something. It is, yeah, I kind of, my instant reaction like, it's like TypeScript for JavaScript. This is Bicep for ARM, because it just moves away the things, gives you extra, it's almost syntactic sugar on it, and moves away all kinds of things that are normally complex, and now you just have a almost human readable form.
Yeah, and I think you're correct there. And also, it kind of feels like we're developing or programming our ARM templates instead of typing JSON.
It's a bit more scripty than state, indeed. Yeah.
So let's dive into my machine. And what we see here is the very first Bicep file that we will see today. And I actually installed a extension in my Visual Studio Code that helps me with Bicep stuff. So for instance, if I copy this over now and I paste it in here, then immediately I will get two red squiggly lines, one telling me that this is no longer unique.
You already did this.
So, yes, so I can make that 2 and then that goes away. But also, and this is something that as far as I know ARM templates don't do at this point, it says resources staging 001 and 2 are defined with this same name in a file. So it says you're actually trying to create two Azure resources with the same name. That's not going to fly. So immediately that helps
This
us.
by itself helps you.
Yeah, but first let's look at what we have here. So in Bicep we actually specify resource, which is a keyword. I want to do something with a resource. And in this case, I give this resource a name. Now this is not the name it gets in Azure. This is the name it gets inside of this Bicep file, which enables you
to refer to the same definition again.
Yes, which helps you do stuff with it, and I'll get back to that later on. And then next up is the resource provider that you want to have for that resource, the type of resource, and in this case under Microsoft Storage it's about storage accounts, and then the API version.
And this is actually the powerful or the interesting bit, because this is the part that's one-to-one compatible with ARM.
Yes.
So if there's a new version or anything there, you don't need a new version of Bicep, because these specs are here and it's just conforming that same typing there.
Yeah, completely true. And now another cool thing is the fact that if you have this available, you can have IntelliSense.
That's nice.
Since this is a domain-specific language, IntelliSense is something that's available. However, it's not available on all locations. So, for instance, location, it's not available there. I'm going to say yet. But I'm not really
but
sure.
We're also getting like 2 a month extra now. So.
Yeah, that one. So this is a very simple and easy Bicep file.
Yeah.
Now,
so this creates a storage account with a specific SKU, so it's done, like it's there.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I think is missing at this point, and there's an open GitHub issue on this, you cannot create resource groups with Bicep yet.
Okay. So this is run within a resource group.
Yes. So the way you deploy this, and then I go into my MD file that I have available right here. The way you deploy this is you go to, for instance, Azure CLI, which I use this for, and then I go into the location where this file actually is at. So I think this is on Betataks. And then if I list this out, here are my Bicep files. So what I can do now is I do an AZ deployment group. Then I create, based on a file, main.bicep. And into the group, Betataks Bicep 001. Now, main.bicep is not the name of the file anymore because it's called 01 because of ordering. Now, if I run this, this will go and try and deploy this in Azure, which is awesome.
Okay, but this is pretty recent, I guess, because
Yes.
we needed to compile with the Bicep CLI first to ARM. Right?
Yeah, you don't have to do that anymore.
That's
You can
now
actually
directly. I saw the pull request coming by a couple of weeks ago, but you can actually go from the latest CLI, deploy Bicep files instantly.
Yeah, and then you get the Bicep CLI by doing AZ Bicep install. You get the Bicep CLI available, and now with the AZ you can do deployment group create, and just like you said, you don't have to pre-compile it anymore. You can just say, take this Bicep file and publish it for me. Now it's actually running, so this will, I hope, finish somewhere during this talk, and I'm pretty sure it will. But let's first dive into what else is available in Bicep. So one of the things that's available here as well is parameters. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to look at here. So first of all, the assignments that you see here are default values. So you can override them by specifying them either on the command line or in a separate file. Then also, here you can see that these two are of type string, but for the name I now specify that they have a min and max length, which enables me to validate the values that come in for that parameters if I provide them on the command line or in a file.
Otherwise, you need to debug the whole thing. It's like, where is it going?
Yeah.
Wrong, and we know the naming for different resources have different specs.
Yes, so for
That can be tricky.
storage accounts, the name should be between 3 and 24 of length, so that's why that's specified here. Then we can see name here, location there, and we have the storage SKU in this case is a variable instead of a parameter, so that we can reuse that.
Running this inside the resource group
Yep.
from that perspective, so you're not defining the resource group itself anyway.
True. And then another thing that's really cool is we talked about the fact that you give your resource a name in the Bicep file. We can also do storage 002.id here, have it be an output variable as being storage ID. So yeah, now we can just
You go into
dot.
the power of scripting, because you create something, it's top to bottom, so you can have params, you can change them, you can stitch things together to get names. But also, indeed, from that point on, this thing has been created after that. And I didn't see the IntelliSense there, but this is helping a lot.
Yeah, because now you get resource and then right brackets and then curly brackets, and then you get very complex to get the
Google
data
it,
out.
run it, and see what you
See where it breaks.
Where it breaks, yeah.
Until it works. So this is actually pretty powerful. And then to deploy this, we can either, let's go to that MD file again. You can either do -dat parameters and set them this way, or you can specify a JSON file that holds the parameters. And now,
if it's a lot, that makes sense if you do this constantly, also in builds or in releases
then you'll do
ship
files.
this. Put a file
And then
there.
this adheres to the same schema as the parameter files for ARM templates.
Yeah, this is the same. Okay.
Yeah,
so
so
you
that's
can
the same.
also reuse that.
Yes, completely. Now, let's see, has it deployed yet? It has, and then of course you get the same result as you would if you call the API. Here's the storage account that was actually created, so just to be sure, if we move into this storage or this resource group, we can now see that the BT Bicep storage 001 was created successfully. So that's for parameters, but there's more, of course. So looking at this, there's a couple of things that are interesting. Let's start on the first line, where we actually get the location specifically from the resource group we are running our deployment in at this point.
So resource group, and then you can get the current context of the resource group.
Yeah, so if you have a deployment in several locations, based in several resource groups, you could ask, okay, so the resource group I'm currently running in, what is your location? And let's use that as the default location, instead of having to
chain the location everywhere. But like not only that, but there are so many things that you're creating this resource, want to get this out, and actually want to, of course, depend on that, and I have a naming convention.
It's really cool that you say depend on, because that's also some of the things that we're going to have a look at. But first, let's see that we now have a global redundancy parameter that's defaulting to true. And let's see here, we have a unique string, which is initialized by the ID of the resource group. This is now a function that you can just call and say, give me a unique string. Use that as the name for my resource.
Oh, cool, because we don't want to know what their names are. It just needs to be there.
But let's say we want to prefix something, but have it be unique. Then we have this option of something that looks, as far as I'm concerned, a lot like a string interpolation, because we can now say, let's have a prefix, in this case is unique.
Well, that's the string interpolation I know from TypeScript. So,
and we now have it in Bicep available for creating resource names. And we could even go as far as saying this structure where we say, okay, of course, then I need to, because nobody likes red squigglies, right? But then we can have this name prefix of being Betataks, and then in this interpolated string, we have the name prefix, and then we generate the unique string based on the ID of the resource group within that same assignment. So,
and what does it do? Because it just checks all the resources in the resource group that it's a unique string. You cannot have a...
Well, the ID of the resource group is, I think, hashed.
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing it does something that looks like GUID, but then make sure that it's unique. Maybe you now get the same names as we do, for instance, for static web apps, that you get a blue lavender tree
those are nice.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's actually something that's available. But also, and I think this is very powerful, look here. I have a name for the SKU of my storage account that I depend on a parameter that's called global redundancy. And now I have this ternary operator here where I can say, if I need global redundancy, do standard GRS, otherwise do locally redundant storage.
Yeah, you just simplified this decision to a param.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really powerful. But of course, there's more, since I still have a few files left. So those resource names, here we can see that we have the storage account name that we actually globally, that we create as a unique string based on the prefix and the resource group. And then if I want to have something that depends on this, I can say I want to create a container under my blob service, and it depends on that storage account that I just created. And the depends on will be added when the template is compiled for you. So we no longer specify I need to have this blob storage account be available before I create this container. I just say I want to create a container in this storage account, and then the Bicep will say, okay, so you're trying to create a storage account and then a container under it, so the storage account needs to exist.
Yeah, and there's time to create all these things, so it will organize the next event and the next event. It's almost like durable functions for ARM.
Yeah, true. And then, just like what we just said, you have resources and then all types of brackets and names and whatever. If you want to have the primary endpoint of your storage, just do storage properties primary endpoint and get it from there. So instead of...
Also things like getting then your keys out and pushing them inline to your key vault. It's amazing.
This is so much more powerful than a normal, let's say, ARM template.
One thing we struggled when we were using this quite early, we bumped into, or we need to create, because we have a multi-tenancy thing, we need to create a whole range of these things.
Yeah.
And we have actually an array. Like I want to have these storage accounts, I want to name them out, and I want to do them for each region. I want one.
I hear what you're saying. I'm going to.
I saw someone tweeting that loops were available now.
Yeah, man, look at this. Okay, so first of all, this is a couple of advanced things. So first of all, we can have the existing keyword, which actually means I can specify this storage account as being, I know it exists. I don't want to specify any of the properties. I'm just going to say, give me that explicit storage account.
Okay, so this is a get info and just,
Yeah.
okay.
And here I'm saying this, and then
And it will just error if it doesn't exist and you were wrong.
yes, but then the power of this is that you can use the name that you gave to this resource throughout the rest of the bicep file to get information out of it.
But is the thing now also populated with everything, or are you just using the name?
You use the name to get it, and then as you can see here, we have the storage name. Do we do anything else? I think this is populated with everything.
Wow.
Now that's powerful, right?
I want this thing. Continue. Yeah.
But it's available. So next up is, so that was the existing keyword. And then here we say, I want to create this. And then the depends on, again, is automatically compiled in the template. Now, here we output some stuff again, but also what we can have is a condition. So in this case, this is a very bad example, but we say, let's get the current year.
Yeah.
And then only if the current year is 2021, I want to create a container that's named logs 2021, because otherwise it might be there already.
Yeah, and then another one for, I think we can solve this differently, this problem, but I understand the power.
But of course, I needed to do this, current year. And as you can see, again, IntelliSense, and then now I have this inline available here as well. And I even added some exclamation marks because I know that loops are interesting. We now have loops. So let's say we have container names, dogs, cats, and fish. And then right here, you specify for name in container names, execute this.
Yeah, this was a problem because you were referencing, like you needed to still copy some blocks over and reference the 0, the 1.
Yeah. So now the only thing that you need to do, if you have if you want to have information that comes out of this, of course this one, this blob02, has one explicit resource. This now has many. So if you want to do anything with that one, you can just index it.
You want to project out the...
they can just index it. So that actually...
Okay, so automatically what's happening in that for will now not create one blob, but indeed an array of the same.
Yeah, what we're saying here, for each name in container names, create a container with that name.
Cool.
And then if we go into modules, we can even say that we have a module that we export as being 02params.bicep in this case. And then these are the parameters that are part of that module. And then we can use this anywhere we would like to use it as a module. Yeah, from anywhere actually.
Cool.
So we're pulling in the 02params.bicep, so we're pulling in this bicep.
Yeah.
And then we're specifying the parameters that we want to put into that parameters bicep file, and then run it from there.
Wow. This is amazing, Rick.
Yeah, now one more thing before we go.
Really?
Really? So we're here now, right? Well, let's say I have this really simple ARM file available that actually creates a communication service under Azure, and it has some alerts on there as well. So this is an ARM template the way it looks like when you export it from the portal, right?
Yeah.
Now let's say that we could AZ bicep, or wait, yeah, let's see that we can AZ bicep decompile an ARM.json file.
Okay, I can hardly read that thing. How can it make it readable?
Right. I need to specify -f because I need to specify that it's a file. It's done. And if we go here now, we see an ARM.bicep file where it actually states, okay, so the smart detector alert rules failure anomalies resource, that's right here. And here is the communication service. We need to have a location, some properties where the data is, and we have a bicep file parameterized that works.
So if you already spend all the hours putting in, then it's like, yeah, now it would be easy. And there's a way back.
Yep.
And then from there you can continue with bicep.
This is a awesome start of improving your bicep file to be even better than it was before.
I think, is this preview material, or can we use it?
No, it's
V1.
Out, it's out now.
Well, then
It's
I would say use
released.
it.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Well, thank you very much, Rick.
Well, thank you. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.